Hello and welcome to this week's meeting. It's January 22nd. What is there to discuss? We have a few topics actually. I'm gonna keep the main one for the end. First off, we're doing some changes to infrastructure. You might have seen that I've been pushing a bunch of commits to a branch, and we're switching over the load balancer to be a Cloudflare worker instead of the default Google Cloud load balancer, because the default Google Cloud load balancer is relatively limited in terms of what it can do when it gets to matching. So for a bit more context, the way JSR works is that to render the front end versus serving content, actually serving the modules, it looks at the accept header. So if it's accept HTML, you always get the website. If it is not that, it will always serve up the actual module code. And we do that on a string prefix of the path, which is /at. Anything after that doesn't matter. The problem is that, for example, Claude and the other AI agents, they don't provide an accept header. So they always get the source code instead of like docs, which is not great. And GCP does not allow like smart matching based on like regex, where we would want to check if it's like the docs pages. So check that the path contains /docs/. So due to that, we're rewriting the load balancer to be in just a Cloudflare worker. And the benefit that this brings is we actually have the load balancer in a nicely defined way in JavaScript, and not just something that we don't have full control over. Now, why would we want to have full control over it? Well, it opens up for two things we can do. Number one, it allows us for easily self-hosting JSR. So I started working on a Docker Compose file for that, which basically people can just copy and just Docker Compose up, and you will have your own JSR instance running, since many people have been asking about this. And since we can do that, we can also implement the fallback mechanism, meaning that let's say you have your own instance, but obviously you still want to be able to use the main JSR.io instance. And now we can, with the custom load balancer, we can check if there is a fallback defined, probably by some end variable. And if, for example, a module is not present in your own instance, then it can proxy to the fallback instance. Now, this works obviously very easily by just checking, hey, is it a 4.4? If it is, just serve the fallback. And yeah, that's great for modules themselves and NPM tools. However, that probably will not be as easy as for actual infrastructure of JSR itself in terms of the API server, because for example, for when you publish, we check that the dependency actually exists, and so we probably will need to do some changes around that, and the API server will also need to somehow mess around with the fallback mechanism, but that's to be seen in the coming days. I'll focus on that after we do land infrastructure changes. Now, some people also want, in a similar discussion, also private modules. That's further way out. It's needs some more thinking on how we can do authentication and how we want to do that as a whole. It's overall not a complicated thing to do. It's just more of a planning on how it should be. But first off, self-hostable versions of JSR, I think, will be a good first step, and that will also open up the case for companies who want to, well, have their own JSR instance for base. And well, on top of that, I want to also provide a way to easily replicate specific packages from one instance to another. For example, I've had this problem many times where I'm running JSR locally while trying to implement something, but trying to debug something, and I need a specific package because it only happens with a specific package. The problem is that package depends on various things. I need to download the task, like the table task of it, download it, unzip it, figure out all the dependencies of it, download all of those, first install, publish those to my local instance, etc., etc. It is quite complicated and annoying to do. So I will also implement a way for like some CLI utility or something in the admin dashboard or whatever to be able for the current instance to clone specific packages from another instance. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything in that regard. I'm not sure if there's any questions regarding any of this.
Would that kind of allow people to sort of like use their local instance as a cache, sort of like, like a registry you'd use in front of npm, so that you don't hit npm service? Is that kind of, would that be covered by what you're doing now?
Um, not. Wait, can you repeat that again?
Okay, so like I think the most common example of this is like Docker Hub, where
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to download Docker images from Docker Hub all the time because they're rate limited. And
Mm-hmm.
so they implement sort of like a custom Docker registry in front of it, which sort of like clones images from the remote as needed, but otherwise serve them from the local instance. And
I
so
see.
I don't know, like I don't need this personally, but I know that some people sort of like try to host their own local npm registries too, where they have full control over the packages and they are fetched from the remote npm as needed. And is that something that JSR would then allow to?
Um, I see. I've not really considered that use case yet. I don't see that being difficult to add, but probably would keep that as a follow up. So
Yeah,
basically, it's like the cloning or rather the replicating, just not on a button press, but on demand. So instead of using a fallback, it will now
right.
just clone it local, like to the current instance. Yeah, which is not very difficult to do. It's just, yeah, a bit. It's gonna be a bit more work.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is probably a good thing. Uh, I'll keep that in mind and open an issue about that once we have these infrastructure changes landed.
nice. Then we
Yeah,
can figure out demand
yeah,
for that feature
yeah,
before
exactly.
we start doing anything about it.
Yeah, I think it's probably like once we have the replicating stuff in place, anyways, it's just a matter of adding an envar for an endpoint it should hit for replicating, and the load balancer then takes care of it. Like, I think it's
Yeah,
like a 50 line change, but
that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah,
sadly we have a lot of 50 line changes in the repo, so that need to be done. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, okay. All right. What next? Let me think. We've done that. Yeah, I guess the main topic is account deletion that was discussed in the contributing channel. So I was working on adding account deletion because currently you have to email us and then I have to take care of it. And sometimes I miss some emails and then it takes a while for me to get to them. And yeah, so the question really is how do we implement this? So I'm gonna just read out again the two options I suggested in the channel. Um, so The first one is the, let's say, orphan option. Users can always delete their account, and any scopes that are the last a member of get transferred to a bot account, similar to like GitHub's ghost account. So we would have like a JSR ghost account or whatever, and people can open a ticket to request ownership of an abandoned orphaned scope. And this is probably the most user-friendly aspect, but makes deleting and recreating of accounts very simple. One can just delete because they run out of scopes, create a new account, and just claim back the scopes that they lost. Let's say lost, and don't have to keep attention to the scopes that they had previously that they don't want anymore. The second option is to require the user to make sure that all scopes have a new owner in case they want to delete the account, which can be quite tricky for probably many users, or finding like maintainers for a project that they maintain and they want to, well, get rid of their account. They can't because they would need to find that. So yeah, the question really is what do we want to do here? One suggestion was to keep some information of users on JSR, so we can do the first one to prevent the issue of abuse. Obviously, then you're not actually deleting an account really, but that's probably the best. I mean, maybe not keep around like really identifiable information like emails and stuff like that, but we could maybe just store like the GitHub ID and see if it's a newly created account that has reused ID. I don't know, it's kind of all tricky. I see some typing.
I think I would rather go with the first option, honestly, because if you sort of like option two would kind of mean we disallow users from getting rid of their scopes in a sense,
Yeah.
because they would be too lazy to find new people usually.
Yeah, exactly.
So people would just create second accounts and third accounts and so on,
Yeah.
and so they would sort of like just work around the limitation and it'd be annoying for everyone. So I
True.
guess option one is sort of like better, but then you still have to find solutions for the abuse case.
Yeah.
Like, for example, how many scopes per month you can create. Uh, like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine you can only create like 2 scopes a month. Then it's
Yeah.
pretty hard to abuse it, right?
Yeah.
Not sure if it's enough though.
Yeah, it's tricky because I mean, okay, let's say one easy way to abuse this is once we have like the GitLab logins. You can create an account with GitHub and then create an account with GitLab and have those be separate accounts, and then easy way to instantly work around it. Obviously, I mean, it's like creating a new GitHub account as a secondary account. Like, it's not that much different. It's just slightly easier than, but yeah, I don't think we should really waste too much time on thinking how people will abuse this. Especially, like, let's be honest, I mean, many people may be using JSR, but not many people might be using it as publishers. That's, I think, obviously the minority. Many people just consume. So maybe worrying too much about abuse might not make sense, and maybe something we should revisit later. I don't know. Doctor
I mean,
says,
it,
I think just keeping the ID for a week or month to prevent abuse could work. I mean, we could do that as well.
yeah. Also, if there's no abuse currently and we don't understand the ways in which it will be abused yet, then it might make sense to wait until we see the abuse
Yeah,
patterns and then like do something targeted.
yeah. We'll need to think on how we can even observe if this abuse happens or not. I mean, yeah, we have the audit log and we can't see everything that happens, but yeah, it seems a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Also, on that note, I said that we wouldn't be storing any information whatsoever on users, but we kind of need to keep some information around. A, for the audit log to be actually true, because admins will also be able to delete users. Because, I mean, that seems just the right thing to do if for some reason someone cannot delete their account, that we need to be able to do that. And it needs to be replicated in the in the audit log, but obviously just keeping like the user ID in the audit log is not sufficient, because keeping an ID for something
Yeah.
that doesn't exist anymore is kind of pointless. But the other reason is also legal. Let's say you create a package that for some reason breaks some laws, or like copyright infringement or whatever, and you need to be able to be contacted again. Yeah, we kind of need to keep the information of the user around in case that user then deleted their account. So from a legal perspective, we also need to keep some information. So, but from a legal
Yes.
perspective, we also need to delete everything. Yay, laws. Um, so I'm no lawyer, so I'll see how this is supposed to be done. I'm gonna ask around a bit, but yeah, seems a bit.
I mean, I'm also not a lawyer, but that being said, I think the point is that you're supposed to delete all data that you aren't required to keep by law, right?
Yeah,
So don't keep any data needlessly, which means if we need like an email address or an IP address or something for legal reasons, so that we can uh, hand this data out to authorities in case of abuse or something, then that is sort of a requirement to keep it, I think.
yeah,
That's my naive understanding of the law.
yeah.
Uh,
It's my guess too. The thing is, we also don't store that much more than just email. So I'm just checking. We
yeah,
have the user ID, we have the name of the GitHub account or GitLab account. Sure, that's one identifier. Then we have the URL of their avatar, that is just a link to GitHub, GitHub user content. And then we have the GitHub ID and the email. That's it. We don't store really anything about users. So maybe just
yeah,
adding a flag to the database is deleted. I don't know. Might be sufficient. It's kind of terrible, but and then when they try to create an account again, when this flag is set to is deleted to true, then that would obviously create a new account. But
yeah,
because we still need, like, we have publishers, like a publisher is attributed to a user. What do we do in that scenario? So yeah, I think we might need to keep users as a whole. Maybe we just delete, we set the name and avatar URL to an empty string. Sure, and GitHub ID, I guess, or we keep that GitHub ID. Not sure, but yeah, I guess shit's complicated.
yeah. By the way, when you have both, like, can you sort of link both GitLab and GitHub to the same JSR account?
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
So in the implementation currently, if you log in with your GitHub account and you go to the settings, you can either, there will be a button for linking to GitLab or unlinking.
Right.
And I believe, I need to double check if I actually implemented that or I just dreamt about it and didn't do it really, because it was discussed, was if you sign up, let's say you have a GitHub account under one email address and you sign up with the same email address via GitLab, that would automatically link the accounts because it's the same email address. I mean, there's not going to be
Yes.
two different
Nice.
people using the same email address. For that would be very, very weird. And then, yeah, no, just get another email address. It's a 30-second thing
Yeah.
on Gmail. Just create one. So yeah, no, that will be covered. And on regards of that PR, I need to check if I finally got my review in, because I was, well, not promised, I was told that I would get a review on that PR. My take is most likely I have not gotten it. 11 comments, but probably those are all, yep, no review. Fine, I guess I'll ask for review again. Hopefully, I'll get it tomorrow. Yeah, the webhooks PR, I need to get it green in CI again and add that table ready event and figure out why the demo last week was not working. Well, not last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess. So, yeah. But then, yeah, and I saw there's some open PRs. I need to go through them and see what's going on there.
Yeah, I was interested in that too. Like, because there are some PRs that are sort of, they look ready, but they're also stale. There's some that, like, when you read through the comments, it makes sense why they aren't merged. But for some, I'm kind of like storing licenses, for example, sounds
Yeah.
like perfectly reasonable. And
Yeah,
it,
like for everything I've opened, basically the problem is I need someone else to review it, and
yes,
only someone in the org can do it. And yeah, good fucking luck finding someone that will do it. So usually it's always the same person, which is Luca, but Luca is very, very busy, given that he is also, I believe, officially titled the lead engineer of deploy or something like that. Anyhow, he basically is very much in charge of deploy in many aspects, so he is very busy on that front as well.
yes.
So yeah, I just need to bother him so much that he will just do it. I think that's the only way. But yeah, for everyone else PR, that's my task to review them, and I'll go through them. And I see there is like one really old PR from Luca, and I probably just close it. Like I think there's some PRs that can be just closed, and if people really want that, then opening new ones again probably is the way to go, because some of these are like so out of date that they just don't make any sense to keep around.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything you can say about the resources that are allocated to JSR? I don't know if that is anything that you'd be willing to share at all. Like, are you working on JSR full time essentially?
No, definitely not.
No.
If I was working full time on JSR, then things would look very different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No. I try to allocate a day every week if I can. Sometimes it just is not possible.
Mhm.
But we have discussed doing more of a sprint on JSR. And there's definitely been some incentives lately in doing some more work to JSR, especially this whole load balancer thing I mentioned earlier. Obviously, we want JSR to work with agents, with AI agents. So that's
Yeah.
kind of incentivize that. But also the benefit of doing the load balancer is another thing we wanted to do for a while, because costs, because it's cheaper then, because via Cloudflare this is gonna be much cheaper than via Google. And there's some other things we want to do to improve the cost of JSR. So yeah, there's probably going to be a bunch more upcoming changes related to infrastructure, especially because once everything, probably not everything, we cannot really run the Rust backend in Cloudflare. I mean, there are some ways, but it's a bit tricky. But everything reasonable, or as much as possible, gets moved to Cloudflare. That gives us the benefit that once we actually have the foundation, which is another topic to get into, we can get access to Cloudflare's. They have a program for open source and foundations that is basically free Cloudflare for anything that is done. So we would have basically Cloudflare completely for free for JSR, which obviously is a major benefit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But that still is relatively a lot of work, just because currently we use, for example, Google Cloud Buckets. So we would somehow have to transfer everything to, I think it's R2 or whatever buckets are called in Cloudflare. I mean, it's probably going to be a relatively slow process of moving infrastructure over to Cloudflare. And again, not everything makes sense, but something as simple as bucket storage seems reasonable to move over, or even like the SQL database. I'm not sure if they if Cloudflare has an SQL database. Oh yeah, they have D1, a Cloudflare's managed serverless database with SQLite, SQL semantics. Not quite what we want because we use Postgres, but yeah, there's definitely more to investigate in what can be unified under Cloudflare, because currently everything is on Google, which is actually nice as well, just because we have one source of truth for all our data. But the problem is then it's Google. Right? I don't have a problem with that itself. I have a problem with Google Cloud Platform being completely terrible as a dashboard and trying to debug things. So probably I would say Cloudflare tends to be somewhat better in that regard. But yeah, we'll see how that progresses. Any other questions or topics or continuations of previous topics?
Not from my side, at least.
And I guess nothing from Doctor as well. Then I would say we can adjourn this meeting. We are on time. And yeah, let's see. The next meeting will be on Thursday, the 5th of February, which, yep, will definitely be present for that. So I guess I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks for sharing.